Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are on the Salaam and the chapter of divination. Along the narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas, one night they saw a shooting star, and the Prophet asked them, "What do you used to say in the Jahiliyyah times when you saw a shooting star?" They said, "We would say that a great man has been born or a great man has died this night, and the shooting star is an indication to that." And the Prophet said that these meteors are neither a sign of the death of anyone nor the birth. Rather, when Allah commands a matter, the angels supporting the throne sing His praise. Then those who are next to them also sing the praise, and so on, until this praise reaches the lower heaven. Then the supporters of the throne ask each other, مَاذَا قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ? What did your Rabb say? And they inform each other of what the decree is. Then the dwellers of the heavens, the Malaika, seek this information until this information reaches the As-Sama'ud Dunya, the lowest heaven, meaning the lowest layer of the 7 heavens. But in this process, the jinn who are trying to eavesdrop, they catch this information, so they manage to overhear it, and this jinn carries it to his wali from the soothsayers. So whatever the soothsayers say, in accordance with the decree, then that is correct, but they mingle with it lies and make additions to it. So this practice of stealing or snatching what the Malaika are speaking about of the divine decree used to happen much before the advent of the Quran. But after the advent of the Quran, the jinn themselves, this is narrated in Sahih Muslim, noticed that there are many guards warding the jinn off from snatching a hearing of the divine decree. So they decided to investigate, and this is when they found the Prophet ﷺ reciting the Quran at the Salatul Subh, and they all gathered together to listen to him. And they went back to their people, the jinn, saying, "Inna sami'na Qur'anan ajaba." We have heard a wonderful recitation. So after the advent of the Quran, it was very rare that the jinn could snatch a hearing of the divine decree. Also from a wife of the Prophet in the chapter, that the Prophet said, "Man ata arrafan fasa'alahu an shay'in lam tuqbal lahu salatu arba'ina layla." Whoever goes to an arraf, that is a diviner, and asks him about anything, then 40 nights of his salah will not be accepted. An arraf is more broad than a kahin. A kahin tells you about the future. An arraf is broader. He could tell you about, for example, your lost property. It has been, let's say, either lost or stolen. Where is it situated? You do not know. He could use a jinn to find out about these affairs. As for his salah not being accepted, if he asks him about something, then he still has to pray for these 40 nights, but he will not be rewarded. What we do not say is that he leaves off this prayer for 40 nights and does not need to pray, or that perhaps he makes up for this prayer after the 40 nights. No. He prays during its proper time, but he is not rewarded for it, unless he makes repentance. The next chapter about avoiding the leper. Amr ibn Sharid reports from his father that in the delegation of Thaqif there was a leper. The Prophet sent a message to him saying, "Inna qad bay'anaka farji'." We have accepted your pledge of allegiance, so return back. Like we said before, the Prophet said, "Firra min al-majadhum firaraka min al-asad." Flee away from the leper like you would from a lion. Likewise he said, "La yuradu mumridun ala musih." The sick should not mix in with the healthy. And now this third evidence, the Prophet did not shake the hands of a leper, because if you have this contagious disease, then you need to take your precautions and keep away. Likewise with somebody who, let's say, has a cold or a flu or some other contagious disease, keep away from them, take your precautions. The next chapter about killing of snakes. The next set of hadith speak about animals, so maybe it should be a chapter of animals, but nevertheless, it is officially Salaam. From Salim, from his father, that the Prophet said, "Uqtulul hayyati وذا الطفيتين والأبتر فإنهما يستسقطان الحبل ويلتمسان البصر." Kill the snakes. The ذُالطُّفْيَتَيْن, which is a snake with 2 white stripes on its back. That is how the scholars define it. And the ones with the short tail, because they cause a miscarriage in the pregnant woman and adversely affect the eyesight. And so it's reported then that Ibn Umar would kill every snake that he found. Abu Lubaba or Zayd ibn Khattab saw him pursuing a snake, whereupon he said, killing the snakes living in homes is forbidden. Also, Abdullah reports, we were sitting with the Prophet in a cave when Surah Al-Mursalat was revealed to him. We had just heard it from his mouth when a snake appeared before us. The Prophet said, "Uqtuluha, kill it." And we hastened to kill it, but it slipped away from us. Thereupon the Prophet said, وَقَاهَ اللَّهُ شَرَّكُمْ كَمَا وَقَاكُمْ شَرَّهَا. Allah saved it, meaning the snake, from your harm, just as He saved you from its harm. We are given the order to kill snakes even in the haram, when normally you do not kill game animals, but snakes are dangerous by nature and therefore you can kill them, and especially the striped ones and those of short tails, because they can adversely affect the eyesight and cause miscarriage in a pregnant woman. The snakes of the home of Al-Madinah are prohibited to be killed, except for the striped and the short-tailed. The narration for that is coming up. But notice what the Prophet told the companions in the cave, that Allah saved it from your harm just as He saved you from its harm. And this is because the companions, when they set out to kill the snake and the snake slipped away, they may find in their heart that they have failed the command of the Prophet. And so to soothe them, the Prophet ﷺ gave them this balanced verdict, that actually both of you have won. The snake was saved from you and you were saved from the snake. So there are no losers and both of you have gained. So you do not need to feel any sadness in your heart. And this type of speech and address to his companions is from the good nature and character of the Prophet ﷺ. One can see how sensitive he is. Also in the first narration there is some doubt. Was it Abu Lubaba or Zayd ibn Khattab who told Ibn Umar that you do not kill the snakes of the home? Well, the other narrations give the name of Abu Lubaba, who is the one who advised Ibn Umar that you do not kill the snakes of the home. That is, those snakes residing in homes. In the chapter we also have from Abdullah that the Prophet commanded a muhrim to kill the snake at Mina. And Mina we know is in the haram, as is Muzdalifah, but Arafah is not in the haram. So what about this rule about not killing snakes of the homes? This narration of Abu Sa'ib, the freed servant of Hisham ibn Zuhra. He visited Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Abu Sa'id was praying, so he waited. He says, I heard, as I was waiting, a stir in the bundles of the wood lying in the corner of the house. Behold, it was a snake. I jumped up in order to kill it. But Abu Sa'id, during his prayer, indicated to me to sit back down. So I sat down, and when he finished the prayer, after he finished the prayer, he pointed to a room in the house. He said, do you see this room? I said, yes. He said, there was a young man amongst us who had been newlywed. We went with the Prophet to the battle of the Khandaq, the battle of the trench. And the man, during the midday, would seek permission from the Prophet to go back to his family. One day he sought permission, as usual, during the midday, and the Prophet told him, yes, go, but carry your weapons with you, for I fear that the tribe of Qurayza may attack you. So the man took his weapon, returned to his wife, and found his wife standing between the two doors. He thought that she had been cheating on him, so he went forward to stab her with his spear. And she said, keep your spear away from me and enter the house to see what has made me come out. So he entered and found a big snake coiled on the bedding. He darted with the spear and pierced the snake, but the snake also attacked him. And Abu Sa'id says, none of us knew which one died first, the young man or the snake. In other words, they both definitely died. We mentioned this to the Prophet, and we said, make dua to Allah to bring him back to life. But the Prophet simply told them, Istaghfiru li sahibikum, seek forgiveness for your companion. Then the Prophet went on to tell them, there are in Medina some jinn who have converted to Islam. So when you see any of them, pronounce a warning for it for 3 days. Then after that, if they still have not left, then kill them, because it is only a shaitan. The Prophet is telling us here that in Al-Madinah, in the homes, these snakes could be from those jinn who have converted to Islam and they appear in snake form. So because they are Muslim, give them a warning for 3 days. If they do not depart, then kill them, because they are shaitan, they are kuffar. As if it had been a Muslim, it would respect the request of a fellow Muslim. We find this young man seeking permission to go. And this is as Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَإِذَا كَانُوا مَعَهُ عَلَى أَمْرٍ جَامِعٍ لَمْ يَذْهَبُوا حَتَّى يَسْتَأْذِنُوا. And when they are on a public mission, affects everyone, they do not depart until they seek the permission of the Prophet. So the snakes in the homes of Al-Madinah are not allowed to be killed except for, as we said, the Dhul-Tufyatain, the striped one, and the Abtar, the one with the short tail. Let's take the next chapter about killing the gecko, which is the house lizard. From Amir ibn Sa'ad from his father that the Prophet ordered the killing of the wazagh, which is the gecko, and it called it a fawaysiq, an obnoxious type of creature. And also from Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, من قتل وزغا في أول ضربة كتبت له 100 حسنة وفي الثانية دون ذلك وفي الثالثة دون ذلك. Whoever kills a gecko with one strike he has 100 rewards, and in the second strike less than that, and in the third strike less than that. And in another narration we have in the first strike 70 rewards. So these numbers are not to be read into too deeply, rather they are just a way to emphasize that it is much reward. And the reason for killing the wazagh is, as is explained in the hadith, it is a fawaysiq. Mice are also called fawaysiq, obnoxious type creatures. And any obnoxious type of creatures can be killed if they are in your home. Wall geckos as well as mice and other rodents, they can cause alarm and distress and discomfort in the home, and hence allowed to be killed, and that's why they are fawaysiq. The next chapter about killing the ant. From Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said that a namla, an ant, bit a prophet from the past, and he ordered that the whole colony be burnt. And Allah Jalla wa Ala revealed to him, because of one ant's bite, you killed a whole nation who makes tasbih of me. And in another wording it says, why did you not just kill one ant? And this is where the Prophet, who is unnamed, made a mistake in killing all of the ants. At best he was allowed to kill one ant. To kill a whole colony which makes tasbih of Allah Jalla wa Ala just means that you're reducing the number of beings or living creatures on the earth who are making tasbih, and this is not befitting for anyone, still less a prophet. What about burning people or animals? You're not allowed to burn people or animals because you're not allowed to punish with fire. The exception can be made is if someone transgresses against the other and burns him alive, then the wali of the victim is allowed to take qisas, which is an equality in punishment, and burn the transgressor or the assailant alive, because this now would be by way of qisas. And generally ants are not allowed to be killed unless you have an invasion of ants in your home, and hence what happens here is that the ants are, if you like, a transgressor, they're invading the home, and you are allowed to kill them off with a spray or any other method to ward off these ants, but otherwise ants should not be killed, that is to say gratuitously. The next chapter about killing the cat. From Abdullah ibn Umar that the Prophet said, عذبت امرأة في هرة سجنتها حتى ماتت فدخلت فيها النار لا هي أطعمتها وسقتها إذ حبستها ولا هي تركتها تأكل من خشاش الأرض. A woman was punished because of a cat that she imprisoned until the cat died, and she entered the fire because of this cat. The woman did not feed it nor give it to drink when she imprisoned it, neither did she let the cat out to eat the vermins of the earth. This hadith is not just about a cat, but about punishing gratuitously any animal, and any human being for that matter as well, a fortiori. The Muslim is commanded to do good to those under his authority. In Surah An-Nisa, ayah 36, the ayah of huquq, the ayah of rights, it mentions وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنْبِ وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, and the companion by the side. This would be either the spouse or the traveling companion. And وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, what your right hands possess. This would be your servants and also animals. So note here, this woman enters the fire because of a cat. A cat may not have any worth in the eyes of the people, but people and their opinions are not the standard of measure. Rather, the commands of Allah Jalla wa Ala are the standards of measure. The next chapter about supplying water and food to animals. From Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, whilst a man was travelling along the way, he suffered severe thirst. He found a well, and he went down and took water from it. When he got out, he found a dog sticking its tongue out, licking the dust from thirst. And the man said, this dog is suffering from exactly what I was suffering from. So he went down the well, and with his shoe he took some water out and gave it to the dog. Allah Jalla wa Ala was grateful for this act and forgave him. The people asked, Ya Rasulullah, inna lana fi hadhihi al-bahaim la ajra? O Messenger of Allah, do we have reward for being good to these animals? And the Prophet replied, في كل كبد رطبة أجر. There is a reward for the service of any living creature, literally anything with a moist liver. And in another narration, it says a prostitute saw a dog thirsty. She drew water for it and she was pardoned. This hadith needs to have an exception, because there are some animals you are ordered to kill, such as a snake or a rat or a scorpion and so on, these dangerous type of animals. These are not included in the hadith. The hadith which talks about the moist liver only applies to those animals which are respected. So even though the Prophet says, fi kulli, in every, kull is from the words of generality. We say that the general statement can have exceptions, and this is well known in usul al-fiqh. So in the previous hadith about the cat, in this hadith about the dog, giving them to drink and eat is a reward-worthy task. Of course, the biting dog you are ordered to kill, as well as the jet black dog. Otherwise, dogs are respected, even if their saliva is najis, that is true. However, treating them well is a reward-worthy action. Okay, just the point about the snakes and killing them, we said that the dhut-tufyatain and the abtar are to be killed mutlaqan. As for the snakes that are residing in the home, do we restrict the ruling to just snakes of Medina or other than Medina? And the scholars have differed on this matter. But what appears to be the weightier opinion, and Allah knows best, is that it is general for all snakes in all homes, that you give them warning first for 3 days. Then after that, you are allowed to kill them. As for killing the wazagh, or the wall gecko, then what is apparent is that the order to kill it is by way of obligation, because we have nothing to suggest that it is not obligation. Also, authentically, in the Sahih of Ibn Hibban, graded Sahih by Shaykh al-Albani, a woman called Sa'iba entered the house of the Prophet and she saw a spear over there. And she said, "What's this for?" And Aisha said, "We're going to kill the wall gecko with it." She said that the Prophet told her that when Ibrahim a.s. was thrown into the fire by his people after he broke their idols, the Prophet told her that every animal tried to put out the fire except the wazagh, the wall gecko, for it blew into the fire, that is, to increase the fire. And so the Prophet ordered that the wall gecko be killed. And this is the narration in Ibn Hibban. And perhaps this is the reason why the Prophet called it a fawasiq, an obnoxious type of animal. Also, about killing the snakes. Authentically, the Prophet said, "Man taraka al-hayyat makhafata talabihin falaysa minna ma salamnahunna mundu harabnahun." Whoever is too afraid to kill the snake is not from us. We have not been at peace with the snakes after we have declared war on it. Shaykh al-Albani and Ahmad Shakir and others have graded this to be authentic. Also, note the hadith of the namla, or the ant, where the Prophet burnt the whole colony. We understand that in our Sharia we're not allowed to punish people by burning them. And so the Sharia of that Prophet may have allowed burning, but in our Sharia we are not allowed to punish via burning. Okay, let's take some review questions. So question number 1. What is the purpose of the shooting star? Question number 2. What is the punishment, as laid down in Sahih Muslim, for asking a diviner a question, simply to know what he would say, without actually trying to expose him? Question number 3. What is the rule about killing snakes?